I just have to think of a quick introduction on this one, but you know how it goes. Are you ready?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm recording.
Ladies and future boys, welcome to the School for Wayward Nerds, the only podcast
to have COVID twice.
Yeah, we're rebooting it. So, this episode will probably be a bit of a low-key one. We've just come back from our convention excursion. You'll probably listen to part one of this, so you knew that's where we went. While we were there, we saw plenty of good Harley Quinn cosplays, plenty of good Poison Ivy cosplays. Not a drop of Catwoman. Which feels wrong to me.
Yeah, you would think there would be like a more even split.
So on this dreary, rainy day, we will have to spend some time talking about Catwoman, because I feel like she should be the more famous one.
She's probably the easier of the three to dress up as.
Yeah, fascinating.
It's just a black morph suit.
Yeah, and goggles.
Yeah.
Alright, so I am your host, Robert Ebola, and I'm joined by producer Kaya Steen. As we continue...
I would just like to point out, still haven't had COVID yet.
Nope. But you sound like you should. Maybe you're just... it's fine.
Okay.
I was going to say, maybe your body just doesn't read positives.
We know that. It's called depression.
You have a very negative personality.
For a pessimist, I'm pretty optimistic.
Oh my god, get your pop punk out of my fucking things.
Nope.
Okay, so we're going to continue with our story arc titled Union, which is volume 1 of the Gotham City Sirens comic book series.
Yeah,
definitely listen to part 1. So much of that episode was just explanation.
Well,
it took place in the middle of a very... I'm not going to say convoluted, because that sounds negative. But it was
complex.
It was very complex and in depth, like a nice
wide-reaching.
It's complex like a fancy chef describes a fancy meal.
Yeah.
Not like MCU in another year when they expect you to have seen all the TV shows as well as all the movies. Yeah. Alright. So that's where we're starting. We're also starting with Riddler is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. Sort of dead.
Mostly dead.
As you see, dear listener, I hope you already read Batman Hush before you got this deep into lore. During that story, Riddler worked out who Batman was. It was kind of cool that he knew but wouldn't tell anyone because it's too valuable of a secret to spread around. Which is very him, too.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very classic riddle, is like, what's something you have until you give it to someone else, a secret? You know? So he's holding on to that one, but another writer came along and didn't like that, so Riddler got bonked on the head and had some time in Coma Town.
Nice.
He woke up and forgot about who Batman was, but also saw this as an opportunity to turn his life around. So with that, he tosses the villain role aside and tries his hand at sleuthing. A PI, to prove no mystery could get past him.
So, like, still same but different.
This time he's on the solving end. You know, a smart genius like Edward Nygma could never have a case get onto his desk that couldn't be solved. You know? Which is, it feeds his smugness. Personally, the Coma stuff is cheesy, but I do like the private ID to it, because you get more of Riddler without burdening the writer or the reader with, hacky riddles that usually are just there to fill issues between story arcs.
Yeah.
Riddler is a great character. Hard as shit to write, I'd imagine. You have to sort of work backwards in a very clunky way.
Yeah.
But he's still a good character at the same time, so this was a good way to get a little bit of both. Makes it nice and easy. So Catwoman and Poison Ivy are being childishly ignored by him. Because as we left last time, Harley Quinn had been kidnapped, quote-unquote, by a Tommy Elliott wearing Bruce Wayne's face.
Yeah.
Remember, we were doing a whole face-off thing. Catwoman and Poison Ivy are being childishly ignored by him, because as you remember, Harley Quinn had just been kidnapped by a Tommy Elliott wearing Bruce Wayne face.
Yeah.
So they're desperately trying to get him to solve this mystery of where the fake Bruce Wayne would take their friend, and I love I love all the characters in this, the way they're written. I like frustrated Ivy's line of "time to die, mate."
Yeah, because she doesn't.
The
give
way
him any.
I know it's just a speech bubble, but the way she calls Riddler meat feels so derogatory.
Yeah.
After they give up on appealing to him, he continues to solve his own case, and during a media statement, because he's also a glory hog, he's the fucking Riddler, he's, giving a statement about this case. He's working on these two sports superstars who've committed suicide. Mm-hmm. But there's something off about them, okay? Mm-hmm. And while he's doing this, Batman steals him away. Like, mid-press conference.
Rude.
Mm-hmm. I like smart old Ed noticing Batman's a little off, a little not himself. Because it's Dick Grayson, if you remember correctly. And they're both investigating these two sports stars seemingly committing suicide. And it's a bit of a detour issue for the Gotham Sirens, but I love the character trait of Riddler muttering small dialogue boxes to himself with no spaces between the words. Because he's quickly, working shit out.
Yeah.
But, thinking out loud. In the end, it turns out they weren't suicides, and the culprits were Riddler copycats. He deduces this, and their origins pretty thoroughly, and tells them to drop their big titty goth GF hostage that they've got before Batman steps in. They don't believe he's Batman's friend, but, they choose to call his bluff on that one. And it admittedly was a bluff, but it's also the nick of time, which is where Batman likes to be.
Of course.
He'd also, put a tracker on Riddler's, riddle stick that he has.
I mean, you know what people are bringing to the table.
Yeah. So Batman beats these copycat people's ass. And Riddler's because Riddler bluffed and said his staff has a we'll give Batman a signal to step in, and they don't believe him. And then he pops up and starts punching the shit out of him. Yeah. And he's see, I told you. Wait, did you actually rig my fancy stick? Yeah. So I like that he guessed exactly what had happened there. And I also like when he thanks the Riddler, when he thanks Batman for the help, just the help, not for saving him.
Yeah, but no, he had this.
I like that the Dick Grayson Batman refers to Riddler as a collateral salvage instead of collateral damage.
That's nice.
It's rude.
It's not.
I mean, he saved him. He's very, very poor sport about it. He's a sore winner.
Yes.
So the day is saved for Ed Nigma, and he got to collaborate with Batman, and he got the girl. Oh. That night he's out with the goth bookstore clerk hostage from the story at a restaurant, and he's thinking about being a good guy and making amends for his past. And while in the bathroom of this place, he sees how Harley saved Bruce Wayne on the news and decides to call Selina after all. To help.
Yeah, because clearly she's a bit of a nice guy.
It's not even that, it's that he was going to let Harley die because they were annoying him. And he was bitter about the start of this.
Yeah.
As you recall,
the poison ivy had him fungi.
Yeah. It's not brainwashed. And it's not comatose either. You can call it fungi. I don't have a name for it, so that works, I guess.
Well, it's being,
he's been turned
high
off.
on weed.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like she would use weeds.
Nah.
So I'm gonna say he was fungi.
The only person that ever added that part of canon was Kevin Smith, of all fucking people. Ironically, before.
No. Oh.
He tried to explain that part of weed was her pheromones to get, her victims, to loosen up a little bit and sort of give in to the rest of the pheromones. But of course, right?
But also, she I don't feel like she would do weed.
No, I don't think she's a 420 Blazer kind of character.
Setting your friends on fire, and if she won't eat plants, I don't think she's gonna smoke them.
That's one way of looking at it. But yeah.
I might be crazy, but that's just my opinion.
So this episode kind of closed with a television. The next issue begins with one. It opens with, the panel's television screen showing, a TMZ knockoff, but for heroes instead of Hollywood.
Nice.
Which would make sense in that universe. The first panel is a direct reference to the Grey Palmiotti and Connor Power Girl run, which was taking place at the same time. It's another one I definitely love and recommend. I like that. I like the details of that. It's world building.
The fangirl in there. Oh, the writers.
Kind of. It's not in a forced continuity, you got to read everything to figure it out kind of way. It's not Fear State bugging me with 20 different versions in the same month. It's just if you read this, you get it, right? It's a cute reward.
Easter egg.
Yeah. It's a shared universe being treated like an Easter egg. Like how Adventure Time used to do it back when it was good and not super annoying about canon. So this TV is being watched by the Joker, who sees a segment about Harley with Bruce, and I don't know if it counts, as we'll see. But I do like the Joker, who is clearly jealous of Harley, but makes excuses for it. He's not mad that she left him. He's mad that she's just a goon with a schoolgirl crush stealing his limelight. He simply must kill her.
Yeah, of course.
It's not for any other reason. It's not a principle. It's not because she hurt him emotionally by leaving. No.
No. She's in his way. Just no, can't be helped.
I like that they very clearly like each other, but they have to put on a fucking show about it. I'm the Joker. I'm a maniacal king of criminality. I am the ultimate evil. I can't be seen holding hands with my lady friend. You know what I mean? I know we see all the abuse and all the horrors and yada yada yada, but I do like to think that there is
actual love in there.
I like to think it's part of his performance. Because surely he's not that high energy all the time. Jesus Christ. He would wear himself out, right? He would need to sit down, have a coffee, just take a minute. No one is that cocaine-fueled, except for Snowflame, of course.
Well, no, because he even comes down from it.
Yeah.
There are parts where he's not on power.
You're right, there's highs and lows. So, not realising his girl is already in the arms of a killer, being Tommy Elliott, he sends his thugs to kidnap her back.
Yay!
And I like when we cut to Catwoman and Ivy trying to find her still. And Ivy is using the green again, travelling through every plant in Gotham looking for her.
It's a really, really great traffic cam.
Yeah, kind of. And I like her eyes look like space. They're just black with twinkles in them. They're fucking weird looking. But I like that she's this powerful. We discussed it in part 1 because I feel like it's more interesting.
I think it's either all or nothing. She's
I like
either all powerful.
I like all.
Or she's just, a lady that likes plants.
I like the both thing. The both theory. So, in tie-in comics for the Batman animated series, because, as you remember, the first version of the animated series had a human woman who was mostly just an eco-terrorist.
Yeah.
But then, once they did the redesigns, she was green, very planty, very cruel, very cold, very inhumane. The tie-in comics came up with an explanation for that Pamela ditched. She fucking cut her losses and left.
Yeah.
And the one that is made out of plant was sort of like a stand-in, so no one knew to look for her until it was too late. But that one eventually dissolves in that comic because it's planted, rots away. But I like to think that version is the one that continued and kept going and kept... I mean, it's already a human bio-plant concoction. I don't know what the word is, but it's already there, so I like to think it's tapping into its own abilities and just building up and snowballing into the version that we get.
Marion Drew, Harleen...
If Marion Drew was an awesome plant god, yes.
but that's the same,
it's the old switcheroo.
You can have both slices of cake and eat them as well.
Like how they're going to have the new Deadshot in the Suicide Squad Rocksteady game kill the already in canon Deadshot that we saw in Arkham City and Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
Whoopsie daisies. He's not a Frenchman no more.
It's
He's
fine.
Will Smith.
It's fine.
Well, we managed to talk about Suicide Squad again, so let's get back to what we were doing. So yeah, she travels the green because she's big fancy god, which is weird because I love street level normal Gotham City, but to just like plonk a plant god in the middle of it's kind of fun to me.
But I think that's okay.
It's just enough chaos. Just enough.
Superman comes and hangs out in Gotham sometimes, so he needs something to go up against.
I mean, it exists in the world anyway, so what does it matter? So yeah, they're looking for their little blonde buddy, and she picks up that the fake billionaire is flaunting her around. There's no secluded warehouse murders going on here. No, sir. The comic changes scenes, like from through the plant into them. It changes us so we can see the covertly criminal couple stop at the Moonlight Lounge. He plans to push her off the balcony and claim that she just fell.
That's fine.
Smooth way of doing it. So you get both characters monologuing throughout this scene, like Tommy and Harleen.
Yeah.
Tommy leading her into a shadowy area secluded from the main rooftop bar area to coward punch her in the back of the head and throw her over the handrail while she's still stunned. Meanwhile, Hal being led into a dark and secluded area for probably a smooch. With the quote, "Oh, Brucey, you dog, you." He gets her to lean out, because you can see Bloodhaven from all the way up here. And I like the joke that she can only see a big brown smear on the horizon, and he's like, that is Bloodhaven. Shots fired.
It's described as being shit.
Yeah. So there's a good panel there where she's like, hey, wait a minute. And, he thinks he's totally caught out, but Harley was daydreaming about being the heir to the Wayne fortune in this scenario. But remembered he has kids. Dick and Tim. I don't like the Tim losing his parents and getting adopted. The part has never really rubbed me the right way. I liked when he had a father who lived next door and shit.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed that stuff. But I love that Tommy didn't care enough to explain or even acknowledge Damien. I know his excuse is I don't know how many people know that Bruce Wayne actually has a son, and I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just not going to bring it up. But I love that he's like, I'm just not going to bring it up.
This is
Fuck
fine.
him.
It's fine. You don't need to bring it up. No one ever needs to bring him up.
And once Harley is aware of them, she isn't interested in being a step MILF. She's not the soccer mum type.
Which, somewhat true.
Yeah.
However, built-in goonage.
What kind of goon do you mean?
Little child that you can make do things.
Children thugs. She did go on to have the Day-Day twins in Batman Beyond.
Exactly.
So Tommy almost gets a kiss for his troubles, but then suddenly the Joker blimp appears. The Team Rocket theme plays in my head because the big Joker balloon gave me big Meowth balloon flashbacks. I like the line, anyone else would be happy to see her moving on and forming such a promising relationship, but I'm really a small, vindictive soul beneath this smile, and nothing would give me greater pleasure than to see her die in agony.
Ha ha ha.
That's right. The thugs open fire on the couple, and I love Tommy diving for cover being like, does everybody want to kill you? And she's like, what the fuck does that mean? What the hell?
Yeah.
Because he's scheming. So, when all hope seems lost, the blimp is yanked upwards. It's re-yanked by, root systems from Ivy. Because she showed up to save the day. Ivy has the Joker in his blimp, and Catwoman gets the bogus Bruce. Unfortunately for her, the police rock up and see Catwoman assaulting famed man about Gotham Bruce Wayne.
That's probably going to get you in some trouble.
Yep. So the girls have to quickly escape, and Tommy uses one of the henchmen's Tommy guns to shoot the blimp. As he schemes as always. It's not much of a self-defense claim for him to shoot the 3 women in front of police.
Yeah, you probably can't get away with it.
No, so he shot at the blimp, so it wouldn't fall down.
Yeah.
So, back at the animal shelter. Are you stuck in that?
No.
Okay. Back at the shelter, Selena almost has to explain the Hush versus Batman stuff, but Harley is more excited that the Joker's big, jealous reaction proves he definitely still cares and loves her.
Oh, Harley.
But Kaya, a negative reaction is still a reaction, man.
Holly.
So that becomes the main topic. I love while she rants about him loving her, his face is slowly coming up behind her in the window. A la the Joker-mobile. Remember that thing?
Yeah, it's fun.
So it crashes through the window and a robot Joker gets out and explodes. And so that's how that issue ends. What do you think is sillier? Or which do you prefer? The Joker-mobile or the Spider Buggy?
Oh. Those are great options.
The Joker the Joker-mobile looks stupid with his big face on it, but I get it. It's a direct competitor to the Batmobile.
Thanos
Peter
copter.
Parker doesn't need a car.
Thanos copter.
The Thanos copter was practical. I don't think Thanos can fly. But, like, why the fuck did he have a Doom buggy? It's stuck to walls. But it's still New York. Like, what the fuck practicality does a car have in New York?
Maybe if you don't have buildings close together. You get mad
It's
in
New
the
York.
video
I feel like
game
they have
when
to
he
have
just
buildings
hangs
close
from,
together.
like, clouds.
Yeah, but they fixed that. That was more of a graphic thing. That's not the limitations of the cityscape of New York City.
I don't know.
The fact he's just driving a car up and down windows just... Oh, I don't know. It always felt weird. I couldn't believe that was a thing that happened in comics, yeah. I thought it was just an action figure accessory.
Yeah.
So, issue 5. The first piece of the really pretty 3 covers that go together.
Oh, yes, they do go good.
You like those ones?
I like when they do fancy covers.
Yeah. Starting with the Harley cover. That one. We left the girls in that explosion. Will they find out? Find out next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Which they don't actually say as often in the show as you think they do.
No. The narrator, who was the guy's name, Bill Dozier himself, narrating the show, said at one time, like, you know, later on, and he was like, I fucking like that. So he started doing it more after the fact. It wasn't. It wasn't originally planned.
For something that, like,
something so
I think
quotable.
most people think is quite iconic when it comes to Batman 66. It's not actually in it that often.
I beg to differ, because another iconic thing is his little dance, which is like one episode.
Yeah, but that's different.
Bird. Edit the bird.
Okay. Bye, bud.
So when we pick back up, they're okay, but the house has a big car hole in it, and it's on fire, and like normal explosion, damage, shrapnels, what have you. Poison Ivy springs into action, and they do a really good job of portraying how much it breaks her heart to do what she does. She rushes to a big barrel cactus, and it grows, and grows and grows, and she cries that she is sorry as she pops it with a chunk of the shrapnel.
Nice.
And the aloe vera cactus juice blasts out of it, and just kills the fire. And, goes the place up.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. Harley is, like, ill gross. And the other Sirens turn on her very quickly, because whose fucking fault is it?
No.
It's her fault for letting things continue. The Joker has got to go. No, observe this quote, Kyle. Joker may have originally thought of you as a willing patsy, but eventually he let you in. Whether he meant to do that or not, he shared with you things that he'd never tell another living soul. And she's like, yeah, it's true. And the quote continues, and do you really think he would let you out unscathed?
Oh, I mean, no.
Ivy is, just as intelligent as Harley can be. If he doesn't die, Harley will, at least in these days of comic lore. Valid.
I mean, yeah. But... Yeah.
So you remember how I mentioned the broker last episode?
Yes.
Well, do you ever wonder who builds the big death traps, props, and other goodies?
I would maybe guess, only because I have the page open.
Look at you go.
It's Jenna Duffy.
Jenna Duffy, the carpenter. That's right. I love her like I like the broker, necessary and charming world building. I also love her disappointment at first, thinking she's there to crack a safe or get in on some action, but she actually needs to do carpentry and fix the explosion and water damage.
Yeah.
She's like, sweet, I get to be in the Sirens, I'm doing that. What do you mean? What do you mean 9 to 5? Come on. I want an adventure.
Come on, darling.
Yep. I finally suited up Harley, that's right, here we are, 2 parts in, finally wearing the costume.
Yay!
It's like a fucking CW show out here. Right, so Harley Quinn takes her sister Sirens to the old storage unit the Joker was stashing, the old Joker mobile, and a heap of old, outdated Silver Age junk. Mm-hmm. Okay. She reminisces of a time that she finally got him to show her the car. And he was kind of embarrassed by the old-timing shenanigans. Like, do you remember that issue where he kept saying boner, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of era. As she's telling this, she's reminiscing about this story, they get into the vents and get inside, Arkham Asylum style. Crawling through vents. The Joker turns out to still be in there. Hears the girls clocking away in the vent and fires a Tommy gun into the ventilation system.
It's fine.
He pauses to listen to see, signs of life, and the bullet holes just get gaped open by more roots and vines. As they do, the girls drop down and the Joker tries to escape. Harley thinks something ain't right about all this, but gets sort of brushed off like she's stalling. Because, in that scenario you'd imagine so.
Yeah.
Harley is restrained by vines and the other two go after the Joker, only to be thrown back by his banshee scream.
Oh.
Not like the kind Black Canary does, as Harley points out. The outdated stuff, the hatred for her, the scream. It's not the Joker, it's a character named Gaggy Gagsworthy.
Well, that's a great name.
First appearing in Batman issue 186, and only appearing like 3 times before this, was a dwarf clown named Gaggy, who was Joker's original sidekick.
Okay.
He then calls her a skank. So Harley is still in the vines. Catwoman falls into a trapdoor that's gets surrounded by hyenas. Poison Ivy gets itching powdered, then laughing, gassed, neither of which really affect her because of what she is. But then she's hit with bubblegum that covers her mouth and nose, and while she suffocates, Gaggy clubs her with a rubber chicken that has a tire iron stuffed in it.
Well, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. So he has free reign on his revenge-bound replacement, Harley Quinn. Getting good at these things that have the same first letter.
Alliteration.
Yeah, I'm doing a bunch of old-timey comic book alliteration. I don't think Bill Dozier's Batman fucked me up that much, but here we are.
Nice.
So issue 6, the Poison Ivy cover of the trilogy. This one begins with Harley about to be stabbed by an angry little person. Thinking quick, Harley acts super dismissive of him and his outdated shtick. The stall works as Gaggy wants some reaction from his prey, so he drags her off to show her that he's more than all of that. And I like the detail that his shrine room to Joker is very similar to Harley's one from her solo title back in 2000.
That's a nice callback.
I don't think it's on purpose. I just think all of the definite disciples of the Joker cult of personality have sort of the same vibe about them.
Yeah.
They love accessories, props, and collectibles.
I mean, that's, what his shtick is, so...
So meanwhile, you got the other girls. Ivy finally pries the hardened gum off her face, and she goes to rescue Catwoman, who's just chilling down there because hyenas are more similar genetically to cats than dogs, which people forget, so she's just, patting them.
Yeah.
So once Ivy gets her out of the... I don't know what a room under a trapdoor is called. Dungeon pit? I don't know. Sub-basement.
Yeah.
So she's out of there. And once she's out, they race after Gaggy and Hal, but get caught in a room with walls that close in. Because, it's... Gaggy's doing, his era-appropriate death trap sort of shit.
Yeah.
And I like that the walls are the panels just getting less and less wide down the page, to convey it. Ivy can only stall with tree trunks, and Catwoman phones a friend. While the girls are in peril, we stall by doing Gaggy's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Worse than your students.
I got a message.
He, much like Boston Brand, Dick Grayson, Mr. and Mrs. Grayson, I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head. He was a worker of Haley's Circus. Okay? He had a tightrope act for a while, but was replaced by the Flying Graysons and ended up in the clown sector of the industry.
No.
As you do, I guess. Eventually, the Flying Graysons stopped performing, so to speak, as we know.
That's a very kind way of putting... Were brutally murdered.
Were brutally sabotaged to death.
Murdered.
Murder by negligence?
Murder.
I don't know if that counts as a murder.
They murdered them.
No. He ruined their thing and then let them die on it.
Thus, murder. Did he cause their death?
No, you're right. Because, like, if you put a landmine on a football field and just walked away and someone got hurt, then technically it would be your fault, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Might not be first-degree murder.
It's sabotage
but it's
murder.
definitely murder.
I'm telling y'all, it's sabotage. So yeah, they stop performing, but he never gets back out of clowning, and it burns his piss. Like, it makes him mad. He's an angry little guy. He's grumpy Smurf.
Okay.
I meant dwarf. It don't matter. They're both the grumpy one of the small people. Take your pick for examples.
Grumpy?
Yeah, that is just his name, huh? Stupid. No wonder I couldn't think of it. That's nothing.
Okay, I'm glad that we went all the way around that circle.
We got all of them. So they're doing another tour near Gotham, and he punches one of the other clowns for spraying him with cold water. And a man in the crowd has a little heh about it. The man meets Gaggy in his trailer afterwards, and it turns out to be the Joker, who liked his little flare-up and wants to hire him for his little, insane clown posse, so to speak. Gaggy is super on board because he is a pissed-off guy, and he's happy to fight people. Don't really matter who it is. He's got Napoleon complex to the max. They become fast friends and stay that way until the turn. Alright, the turn meaning when Joker started to get real murdery.
Yeah.
And so, politically, maybe not politically, but publicationally, Joker had to tone it down for quite a while because Batman comics were making kids gay and violent and whatever, all that sort of stuff. The Frederick Wortham...
The comic code.
What was it called? Death of Innocence?
Something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, all that was going on, so he had to chill, and he was doing a lot of, just jokes and more vandalism and annoyance than villainy. That's when Gaggy took place, but then once they didn't have to do that shit no more, once everything got really dark and gritty and, the Neil Adams and stuff sort of moved in after the 60s, that sort of turn was when Gaggy
didn't fit.
Yeah, he was no longer in that olden days goofball rut. He was the most dangerous guy in town again.
Yeah.
And that left Gaggy in the rearview mirror. We then see Harley's tour of the old storage place from his eyes, back when she was reminiscing about seeing the car. And it turns out he'd gone back there after Joker abandoned it and sort of kept everything in pristine condition for when comics cracked down on him again and he had to fucking chill again.
Nice.
When he got over whatever was going on, they would be friends again.
Yeah.
That was the hope. He sees the Joker look around at all these old treasures dismissively and refers to it all as too Gaggy. Which, it seems at the time like he just means they're too jokey, but he means Gaggy specifically as a person. He describes it as like crickets chirping after a bad joke. It's cringe, essentially. Now, his reasoning for killing Harley and trying to go back to the old Joker day story, is over, and it would be time for Harley to die. He's finished explaining himself. But wouldn't you believe it, Ivy, Catwoman, and the Carpenter, Jenna Duffy, all barge in after she drilled, a hole in the crushing room.
Nice.
So she got to use a big drill after all. And they jam Gaggy into an old rocket and blast him into the sky.
That's not very nice.
Yep. As the gang of Gotham girls ride home in the Carpenter's van, Harley asks them, "Am I really as pathetic and needy as Gaggy is?" And I love it.
Oh, buddy.
I love everyone is like, "Yep." Even Carpenter says, "I only just met you, but definitely yes."
Aww.
She does the nice classic Harley bit though that I fucking that we'll never see again. I don't think. I think we're past this now. It'll never get good again. But I love well, I say, screw Joker, I don't need him, although it wasn't technically the Joker attacking us, so maybe the real one has changed for the better. We don't know. So, she sort of talks herself back into it every fucking time. But it's mad love. She's mad at him for doing all that shit and getting her hurt. She goes to the infirmary, and he just, he leaves her a flower and a get well soon note, and she's fucking back.
But that's the thing, if you're going to destroy your entire life for someone, then you will talk yourself back into it.
Scientology, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry to refer to such a wonderful character as Scientology, but it's the cult thing. You're already invested. It's like people who are still using Apple phones.
Marriage.
Alright, so that issue ends with a very angry Gaggy swimming back to the shores of Gotham, and that's basically the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. Kaya, I want you to edit in the Grunkle Stan meme in here. I know it's a picture, but like, you know when he's like, finally, I have them all? But edit it so the 3 journals are these.
Okay.
Are the covers, okay?
Alright.
Okay, great.
Done.
Alright, so the Catwoman one, the final one, is just a Christmas one-shot issue. Alright. Drawn by David Lopez. Which reminds me, not all of them were written by Paul Dini, so let's credit a fella by the name of Scott Lobdell, who did the Riddler sort of side mission. Which is good that they gave him something to do that didn't like interfere with nothing. Good planning that way.
I mean,
like that.
Considering that Dini's doing everything else, he was probably like, dude, I just need someone to cover something for a month that doesn't fuck with what I'm doing.
Yeah, I just stall and have Riddler be helpful at the end. That's all I'm asking. I gotta go.
Here's the A, here's the B. I don't care what happens in between.
Honestly, don't use the girls. They're important. So yeah, while that's happening. So we're at this one shot. This one is written by Dini. Again, it's just drawn by a different guy. It opens with Catwoman fighting knife-wielding Santas.
As you do.
Because we're doing Christmas. It seems like she's starting to recover from her stage fright that she begun this episode with. Well, I guess last episode with. Once she tied them Santas up, we see her chilling with Dick. I mean the guy. I mean Dick Grayson. She's with Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Yep. I like the idea of
Netflix and chill going on.
Nah, man, I like the idea of them hanging out a little while Bruce is, like, quote-unquote gone. Like, they're still kind of family, but, like, they don't really have other people to hang with. It's like the main guy left. And
we'll just...
It's Ron and Hermione hanging out while Harry Potter's quote-unquote dead. You know?
I mean, which kind of happened.
Oh, no, it did. That was a terrible example. I apologise. It's like that, but different. So Dick asks where her new friends are, and she explains while Jenna Duffy is fixing the shelter up from all that explosion damage, Pamela went to the rainforests of Central America to find herself, and Harley's gone to visit her family for Christmas.
That's nice.
The scene ends with a reminder that Damian is a rude, arrogant little shit, and none of the mad chads that read this era of comics like him.
Fuck.
And if they do, they've forgotten their place. Right?
You know how I feel about Damien?
Bad.
The same way I feel about Dick Grayson and anyone other than Barbara.
Alright, well I feel about...
Fuck you, Starfire.
I feel about Damien the same way I feel about the Prime drinks.
I don't care.
People of a certain age are smart enough to know better than to like it, and then you have toddlers who weren't there yet.
Spell it wrong.
Oh yeah, you spelled Prime wrong. It's 5 letters.
Yeah. I had to have an argument with a kid that Prim spells prim, not prime.
Do they not know that? Oh shit!
And then they tried to argue with me that it's a different drink. It's not prime. It's just like prime.
I want to make a Fallout reference, but unfortunately, the Prim in New Vegas is double M. So I can't.
Okay.
Isn't that a shame? It would be nice to squeeze a little Fallout into this episode, because I like to do that every time.
But no.
It's either that or Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Beloved film.
Great film.
Alright. So, remember how I described Poison Ivy as a god with a little bit of humanity left in her still?
Sometimes.
Alright. While she is out here, she is at peace, but at the same time does miss Gotham. Her me time is interrupted by gunshots. Nearby, a hiker group have stumbled into a drug lab and cartel in the forest.
As you do.
Mm-hmm. Probably examples could go here, but my mind's not getting them.
It happens all the time.
Was there one in Tropic Thunder?
You say that like I've seen that movie.
Yeah. Evil warlord people always have fortresses in the forests.
Isn't that what Predator is?
No, he was not a drug dealer.
Wow, he looks like he does drugs.
Wrong kind of predator. Isn't that fun? But no, they've got their little drug lab out there, and these hikers have sort of stumbled into it. you know, she doesn't like that these drug people cut their way into the forests and poison the water with their, you know, byproducts. So Ivy intervenes very brutally.
As you do.
On her way out, she gives one of the hikers a flower and says Merry Christmas on her way out.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Brooklyn, Harley, the cool auntie, isn't that nice, is home for the holidays. We meet her worn-out mother, Sharon, and Barry. Barry is her fat-ass deadbeat brother, sprawled on the couch playing Guitar Hero, which I love more now than when the issue... Well, like when I first read it, which would have been maybe 2010 or 11? Yeah, so right after it had come out. So, it would have been a timely reference at the time, but the longer we live, the sadder an adult playing Guitar Hero on his mother's couch gets.
Yeah.
The more tragic that is.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So, Harley gets shitty because it turns out she sent him a bunch of that Elliot fortune for a down payment on a house for himself and to put, you know, his kids Nikki and Jenny into private school. Obviously, that is not going well. But the second she gets uppity about it, she's shut down, you know, as the high and mighty supervillain. Obviously, like, he's just a person. Like, he can't be expected to hold up to the same standard as her.
Oh, yeah. We've all had that conversation with our family before.
Yeah. Even her mother takes the fat, unemployed dude's side with multiple baby mamas, because at least he's never been to prison, Harley.
Wow, thanks, Mom.
Like, Sharon then says that she bets Stargirl's mother's proud of Stargirl.
Wow, thanks, Mom.
I think it's realistic and a kind of sad scene for Harley, but at the same time, they react to her career as a goofy criminal like she just got a bad tattoo or something.
Yeah. Can't say that I've been there, done that.
You ain't got a tattoo?
That's true.
But yeah, it's that sort of vibe. I know people sometimes are like, oh, it's too, like, real and sad for Harley Quinn. And it's like, well, at the same time, she would want to break loose from this. But that's
the thing, it's very much that character of, tell me I can't and I'll show you that I did.
Yeah. And after this scene, we see her Pop, which is the only name I get, which is fine, because whenever her parents are wrong, I get fucked off about it. Alright? So thank you for getting the family kind of right Harley Quinn animated series. And at this point, I was going to swear about the New 52, but I have reconsidered. They appear in issue 34 of the 2016 run, and they're completely different people retiring to Florida. They give the dad the name Nick, but they don't give the mother a name, which is weird because this one doesn't give the father a name. And it could annoy me the way this scatterbrain title always does, because the New 52 Harley was a fucking pain in my soul.
Listen to the full of Harley Quinn.
That's right. You know, these are completely different people who retired in Florida. They're not the Brooklyn family anymore. I don't even think she has the accent at this point.
No.
So, and it would annoy me, but I posit it as evidence.
That they're different people?
Marion Drew's baby, different parents, evidence.
Oh, I like it.
Right? That's where every Harley's different argument is gonna go.
Clearly is not actually Harley.
Yeah. Different parents, man. There it is. Proof is in the pudding. So this rant turned to...
Or in the petri dish, if you will.
Rant turned conspiracy aside. In the real lore, which is, you know, this for me, her father is a con man, a name we don't get here, but Nick in the New 52, so we'll just call him Nick here, fuck it. Whatever.
I feel like he'd be a Pops.
Yeah, well, she calls him Pop. But he's Nick in New 52, the Harley Quinn animated series, and the Mad Love novel that Paul Dini was involved with. I don't think he actually... I'd have to double check. I don't know if he wrote the whole thing, but he was involved. Mm-hmm. Alright, so we're keeping the name. He's in jail after taking an old woman's money, all of it, you know. As they talk through the plexiglass window, he tries to pull one over on Harleen to get at that fortune of hers, and she gets mad and goes to leave, but is stopped by a guard who is a fan of hers. And Nick promised him a selfie with her for $50. So on a surface level, her dad has some Joker in him. You know, he's got the coy attitude and the smile. But, you know, it makes sense that Harley would probably have some daddy issues.
Yeah. So you have daddy issues.
Fucking cat. But at the same time, we see her dad for like 2 pages, and we learn of like 3 con jobs in that short time, almost concurrently.
Yeah.
So I think he has a weird compulsion, and that makes sense that Harley would go into psychology.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she's trying to, you know, heal herself in the cheapest way it is to get therapy. University.
Well, she mentions that she went into it to try to figure out, you know, her family and stuff, but you can see it. Like, they don't have to have said it because you can see his weird con artist compulsion.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. Well written. So she is comfortably sick of her shitty family already. It's been like 2 hours. And, you know,
Small doses, people.
She heads back to Gotham. She gets to the shelter in time to see Jenna Duffy, who has finished the job taking her check and going to fucking Vegas, baby. Selena is there, and so is Ivy after, you know, several murders in the forest. It was good to leave, you know, abruptly, get the fuck out of there.
It's fine.
Yep. But the shelter is ready. You know, it's got all the goods. It's got the greenhouse, it's got the gym, it's got the war room, and for Harley, who is the Bubbles of this Powerpuff Girls group, it has a toy room.
Yay!
Because she's the baby spice. Alright, so she's happy to be home once again. And that brings us to the end of Volume 1 of Gotham City Sirens.
Yay!
What do you think?
It's pretty good.
Did you want to elaborate at all? I know we've sort of been over it all in our part 1, but every character is at their peak. The only one that isn't is Catwoman, who is kind of at her peak dealing with that. Like the execution.
Grief-ridden.
No, it's not that. It's like the way she's lost Bruce as a bodyguard. She's at her frailest. So she networks.
She literally got her heart ripped out.
Yeah. So she's, you know, sort of building a
support system.
Yeah, I don't want to say like any like a support system or a community or any of that, like all those buzzwords that have been ruined by companies, but like that is what she's doing. She's building sort of a safe haven, a shelter, if you will, in the shelter.
As you do.
But she is like, even the way that she's plotting and doing that stuff, every character is at their best. You know,
they're doing what they can.
Paul Dini once again has written great stuff. Big shocker by
Are we surprised?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes on to be a good run, but like I've had to explain a few times, there's a lot going on coming into it.
Yeah.
And I hope these 2-parters
wet your whistle.
Not even wet your whistle, but give you enough. I mean, we spoiled the whole thing, but there is 3 more volumes after this. But I hope this gives you enough of a, you know, Batman Reborn 101 to get the ball rolling for you. And I think there's omnibuses and stuff. They've broken it into 2 hardcovers instead of 4 volumes. Like it's accessible, just a little. It's worth the time. Is what I mean. And I think that brings us to the end. You want to get into homework?
Let's do it.
All right. So, what room would you like built if you had one in the shelter? Ooh. Because this is, you know, it's very clearly built with every siren in mind.
Yeah.
If you were to have a room built in with you in mind, what would it be? I have trouble because I'm sort of very scatterbrained, especially at the moment. If we miss an episode, it's because the COVID has finally taken hold. I'm waiting for it to happen. It's coming.
Cody's dealing with the green.
I've got the rot. I'm dying. But yeah, at the moment, I can't focus on dick enough to fucking have one room in particular. I would say a library. But I would want it to have comics, and at that point it's barely a library anyway, so let's have some fucking video games, and the next thing you know, I've just built a weird bar room again.
I mean, technically, you have built a room that you would want. It's the, 7x6 in the backyard.
So your lovely podcast host essentially built a comic and junkie-like store in his yard to play in.
Yeah.
So that's getting dumped into the shelter, and that's my answer.
See, I would like to say, like, an art studio, but I currently am not creative enough that I would use that at all.
But if you're living off the Elliot fortune and you don't have a job anymore, maybe you have the time to get back into that flow again.
Yeah, and then I'm like, maybe like a comfy, like, music. I don't want to play it, I just want to listen to it.
You want a fucking auditorium?
A record store?
What are those things that aren't a tub of salt water that you float in, but like the other ones where it's all just like sound and colours? They often have them in like illusion buildings. No, they're not like those. You know those ones that are always in like illusion tourist traps where it's all like mirrors and LED lights and like weird like droplets of water. Yeah. You know those sort of rooms?
No, I don't want one of those.
You don't want one of those, but with like nice music?
I would go fucking insane.
Then I can't think of a good peaceful place to dump you in.
No, I want like a bay window and nice fireplace.
You want a cottage?
Yeah.
Alright, so they have to build a cottage in the shelter now. Great.
Yeah.
We are not helpful.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end of our week. Brings us to the end of our podcast. Like I said, if there's another episode next week, great. If there's not, I apologise. We will see how bad things get. I've only just had my positive, and it's always a fun game to see what happens next, isn't it? As long as I don't get any more joint pains, that's definitely the worst. But on that note, to find out if we do another episode next week, you should subscribe. So you're already there. You don't have to type our name, because it's a long name. And, you know, it'll save you some time. I'm just looking out for you, listener. So remember to rate, review, subscribe, do all those things. Write a review. I don't know if every app lets you do that anymore. I don't fucking know. I don't pay that much attention.
Write a review and email it to us at theschoolforwaywardnerds@gmail.com.
I always like to say, just listen to our back catalogue. We don't check it. What are you talking about?
I check it. Sometimes.
Okay, awesome. I would say listen to some older episodes, because we did a Poison Ivy super early on. We've done the Rise and Fall of Harley. I always feel like we should do more Catwoman, but I never know where to start. There's so much good Catwoman out there. Alright, so fuck the rate, review, and subscribe. Listen to our back episodes, and find a nice Catwoman book. Sit down, have a read. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. I've been your host, Toby DePaula, joined by producer Kyle.
Hi, I'm here.
Class dismissed.